Hello, welcome to the Circle of Honey with Yulala Gomez. And today I want to give you a message associated to the feminine energy. First, I need to say that humans, regardless of their gender, have both energies within, feminine and masculine. The feminine energy is associated to the right hemisphere. It's an energy of like going inward, the night, the moon, reflection, meditation, dreams, symbols, everything that is non-logical, art, introspection, psychic abilities. And the masculine energy, and it's also an energy, connected to the night, connected to the silence, connected to the winter, connected to the water, connected to the emotions, connected to manifestation, connected to the earth. And the masculine energy is an energy of action, goals, target, logic, left hemisphere, projection, direction, determination, willpower, fire, summer, spring, heat, clarity, logic, okay? Both energies, I'm just giving examples associated to both energies. Both energies are within both of us. It's not true that women are only having feminine energy and males are having only masculine energy. I don't want to go into historical details, but it's very important that we don't fall or we don't continue into this battle of genders. That we understand that everybody has an energetic charge. Generally speaking, most, not all, most of the men will have a higher dose of masculine energy, not all of them, and most of the women will have a higher dose of feminine energy, not all of them. There are women that are quite masculine as well there are men that are very feminine. However, let's speak in general terms. But what has, besides that general energy charge, that could be associated to hormones, that could be associated to structure, to genetics, to bodies, etc. Also, it's very much associated to education. Part of it, you're born with it. I have a son. He's growing up surrounded by women, lots of women, hardly surrounded by any men. And my son is already displaying very masculine attitudes, and he's a small child. So what I'm trying to say is that even if education has an impact, and it will have an impact because a child that is a male, a boy that is surrounded by women will have probably higher comprehension of the feminine energy, still he's displaying his nature, okay, the nature associated to him. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, there is a part that got to do with education, but it is a big part that is born with, okay? And going back to the point, because the point is not talking about it, it's just that it was a small intro. The real thing, or the real point that I want to talk about, is how to connect for feminine and with the feminine energy. Now, this message might resonate way more with women because it's us women who have gone through lots of issues connecting with our feminine side. Now, being very feminine got nothing to do with wearing a lot of makeup, which there is nothing wrong with that, or being very focused on dressing with a very feminine style. There is nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't mean to be feminine or to connect with the feminine energy. The feminine energy is the connection with your intuition, is the connection with your heart, while your masculine energy rules more your connection with your mind and with the practical action. And no matter how much makeup and how many dresses we wear, we are taught, females and males, to connect and to act in this world or to run from our masculine energy. Even if we are super feminine in the way we talk, dress, speak. We are trained to run in our masculine energy, to be logical, to be rational, to have a direction, to have clarity of the path, to have clarity of where we want to go, how we want to go, what we want to achieve. The system is designed to run in masculine energy, and that has created an unbalance in our system, in our bodies, in our minds, in our perception of ourselves, because there is always this point in which we women feel that we aren't good enough and that the problem is us, because the world tells us that success is running in a certain direction or with a certain speed, and we just simply can put up with that in a long run because we are cyclical. We go through cycles. We don't have the same steady energy the whole month. We change our energy through the month, which the moon, because we are ruled by the moon. And previous to our menstruation and previous to our ovulation, previous and post, pre and post, we have changes. And if we have a natural period that comes every month, that means that every week we have a different mindset according to the moment of our cycle that we are crossing. So that is when in our reality we start experiencing ups and downs, and we can change our mind and we can change our approach to connections. When we meet other people, especially males that have a different system, they are solar, they are much more stable, their energy remains practically the same the whole month. They meet a woman that is very much ruled by the moon. Some women can be hidden better, some women are much more lunar, depending on the elements in natal chart. All of us are lunar, but some women can be even have a higher doses of sensitivity, depending on the elements. And if you meet a man that has very dormant his feminine energy, and you meet him in a given moment of the month, and then you meet him later on in another moment of the month, he might be confused about seeing that you are a different person. And it's not that you're a different person, you're just going through your cycles. In those cycles, as the moon, you are going to be more extrovert, and in another moments, you're going to be much more introvert. You're gonna feel different. Even the body changes, the expression, the skin, everything. We are mutable. We change with the moon. We are lunar. So yes, we are lunatic, but not in a negative way. It's just that it's our nature. And the first reason why most of women that are not awakening in the spiritual path are unhappy with their lives, it's because we don't understand our nature. So we feel weird. We feel that we are weird. There is something wrong with us. We can't be normal. We can't behave the same way. And that uniformity that society has given us, that we have to behave always the same and act always the same way, and we trying to put up with it, has created a lot of chaos in our self-esteem. So especially young generations that we grow up in families where our parents taught us to grow, study, become independent, which was a favor that they did to us in a way. The negative side of it is that we grew up thinking that we had to be like the males, like the men. And not very late, we realized that we were a bit different. But that competition, that inner competition that we had, at a certain moment, it has made us all wonder, how would life be if I just was a male? How much easier would have been, until you start connecting to your feminine energy. Even for a male, but that is a different topic. Not connecting to your feminine energy, in reality, it's like you're not even when you are moving in life. Like something is missing, because imbalance is where you have achievement. And the masculine and feminine energy within ourselves are complementary. I cannot only run on my feminine energy, and I cannot only run in my masculine energy. Actually, nobody does. But we are running on deficit of one of the energies, where we have a high dose of masculine energy and very low dose of feminine energy. And that creates a chaos. Some other people are running in a very, very high dose of feminine energy and very low dose of masculine energy, and it also creates a lot of chaos. We need to connect to what is suitable for each one of us. Each person will be different according to element distribution in the natal chart, according to numerology, and as well according to basically setting, but as well, let's say if we give a random general number, which shouldn't be taken literal, because as I mentioned, everybody has an individual setting. Let's say that women probably run 60-40, 60% feminine energy, 40% masculine energy, 65-35. If they are very, very connected to their intuition, they are like more watery, more psychic. For probably 70-30, we are already running a little bit in an overdose. These are random numbers, don't take them very literal. It's just, yes, women usually, not all of us, but in general, tend to be way more connected to symbols, way more connected to non-logical language, way more connected to colors, way more connected to art, way more connected to dreams, way more connected to the moon, way more connected to the night, way more connected to the spirituality, to the inner voice, to the soul, to the intuition, and to the topics that, in which we explore, like if you see any spiritual environment, 70% are women. Okay. Why? If it's something that is for everybody, because we awaken faster, because we are very connected to the third eye. And that will guide us to connect with our psyche powers faster and easier. And going back to the point, the problematic that we have with the self-esteem. Why we have issues of self-esteem in the women community are very high. Also in the masculine, but the women it's very common. Sometimes we women laugh about how confident men are, and how you see women that are stunning and with very, very, very low self-confidence, or anything can damage the confidence of a woman it's very easy to damage the confidence of women. And it got to do with being told indirectly to be very masculine. And so we are trying to wear a suit that doesn't fit us, because we were told that being successful with the masculine concept of success is what we gotta achieve, or what we have to seek. And something inside us is just confused. Even when they tell you that success is getting married, having kids, having a great family, having a project in which you can develop your creativity, having a beautiful home, and you can feel that is a pretty much feminine plan, but it's very masculine. And you will ask me, no, but what is masculine about decorating the house? And what is masculine about having kids? And what is masculine about, taking care of your physical aspect? What is masculine about it is the points, the dots, the direction of the goal. What is the feminine energy there? What is the feminine energy that connects only to the present, never to the future, only to what it is, only to how it feels or how she feels, only to what it emanates in the present moment? That's why meditation, which is an invitation to be present, is the most feminine thing ever. Not praying, because the ritual itself is a very masculine movement, but the receiving and the reception, as I call it, the Holy Spirit, everybody is free to call it as they want, which is the spiritual connection with your higher self. That is the feminine moment. And translated into life, it's to be present and not want anything. To be present and not have a plan about anything. You feel that you are very feminine because you are sitting planning your wedding, your life, your children, your perfect life, but you're not, that is not being feminine. That is being masculine. Is there anything wrong with it? No. The problem is that we are not connecting to our real feminine energy because we have an interpretation of the feminine energy which is quite masculine. We don't understand what feminine energy is. We don't understand why certain moments we just want to sleep longer, and what in certain moments we just don't want to do anything. Why in certain moments we just want to be quiet. Why in certain moments we feel that we just want to lay down and cover ourselves under a blanket and go inwards. We don't understand why in certain moments we just want to cry. We don't understand why in certain moments we feel detached from the reality, because you are undergoing a feminine moment, but because you have resistance to it, because you were told that it's wrong, because you were told that you always had to have a routine that is very solar, very static. You don't understand your own cycles. You put resistance, so the energy forces itself to appear in front of you with a lot of anger. And so we have PMS, premenstrual syndrome. Because when we have our period, when we are menstruating, our ego barriers go down, our reality flourishes. So any syndrome or any situation associated to your hormones in which you have drastic changes in your mental state, emotional state, are due to the rejection of your feminine energy. And the feminine energy revenges, basically, and comes out in a very exuberant way, like saying, I'm here, I exist, and I demand you to embrace me. So it pushes you down. And so how many of the women that you know, including you, if you're a woman listening to this, hate the menstruation, hate the period, consider it wrong to speak about it, or any moment of your feminine cycle, like breastfeeding or whatever. I mean, you name it, or the menopause. So it's like we are constantly fighting against our nature. We are constantly fighting against what we are and who we are. You don't want to be seen or treated as a crazy person because you use the word I feel, I sense, I perceive, I dreamt. Imagine if you come up to work and you say, I dreamt about that this could be a great idea for our project, what people would say. What if you come up to your partner or to a friend and you say, I dreamt this and I know this, and they will ask you, how do you know it? I dreamt about it. How would people take that? How would people take that you take decisions based on dreams? Or that you take decisions based on, I channel it, I saw it, I felt it, I had an insight, an inspiration about this? How people would take that? How would your routine take it? If you allow your other side to come out and express itself. For sure, what will happen is that you will start developing nicer, warmer connection with your feminine energy. And you will start feeling more comfortable in your shoes. You will start embracing yourself more, because part of women that we try so hard to change our appearance had to do with the masculine energy being imposed on us, trying to search certain kind of perfection to fit in. But if we are more connected to our feminine energy, we would go with our cycles with much more grace. We would go with our nature with much more grace. We would go with the acceptance of who we are with much more grace, with much more respect, with much more honor for our bodies, for our feelings, for our emotions, for who we are, for our minds. So connecting to the feminine energy starts by stopping the resistance of your nature. Your nature that is very receptive. And receptive doesn't mean that things need to be given to you and you don't produce anything. On the contrary. Being receptive means that you allow the process of manifestation to happen through you when you receive an insight of the external world that you are being invited to connect. Or invited to create something. So the thing to do in that moment is to close your eyes and allow the feeling or the thing that you want to create to generate a feeling. Feel the feeling, feel the emotion, and store it in a place of yourself that could be your uterus, your heart, instead of moving forward, because the moving forward to seek that thing is a masculine movement. When you stay in your place, feeding the feeling and the emotion and leave it there, it will be manifested in the external world. You are going to attract people to you that talk to you or give you hints on how to go around that situation. That is our feminine power of manifestation. Another important point on how to connect, so I told you the first one. Another important point on how to connect with our feminine energy is to leave behind the competition and the mental battle about this energy of loneliness or independence. Independence doesn't mean masculinity. Codependence doesn't mean femininity. We today want to be independent, and we feel that being independent means being masculine. And there is no relationship between one another. You can be single, you can be independent, and be very connected to your feminine energy. Because the feminine energy doesn't imply necessarily a connection with another person outside. The reason why 90%, I'm just giving a very big number, but the reason why majority of relationships do not work is because we aren't aware of who we are. If I don't know myself, how I will know you? And if I don't know myself, I don't love myself, how I will love you? It's basically everything that we live outside is a projection of our inner unbalance between our inner masculine and our inner feminine. So we need to stop the connection that we do, the inner connection that we do, that feminine energy necessarily means codependence or dependence on other. And we need to disconnect from it that, okay, that if I am independent, I have to become masculine, because it's not true. If I have my inner energies, actually the energy of abundance is pretty much connected to the feminine energy, and the energy of sustaining the balance, sustaining the abundance is masculine. So in reality, we need both. And so we need to separate both things. I want to be independent because I don't want to be subject to somebody controlling the way I live. That's perfectly valid. But that doesn't mean that you have to run only on your masculine energy. Because if you embrace your feminine energy, you will probably be able to create way more abundance, because the feminine energy is the energy of abundance. But also, on the other hand, we also have resistance and competition with the masculine energy, as I mentioned, and it happens within relationships. And it happens within relationships because we are connecting to the other from our masculine energy. And our role when we are the feminine side in the connection is to provide the feminine energy to the connection. And I will ask a question. Do you think that cooking is a masculine or a feminine action? And many people will tell me it's a feminine thing, and it's actually not. It's a masculine action. Now, I need to clarify that. I'm not saying that if the cooking is a masculine action, men should do the cooking. I'm saying that it's a masculine action because it's an action, a physical outer action. Everything that you do outer is masculine. So why I'm giving this example? Because cooking doesn't make you feminine. And I already mentioned that earlier. So we need to redefine when I say to provide the feminine energy in the relationship. What does that mean? When I say that your role, if you are identified with the feminine energy, even though you have both energies within you, but when you identify yourself with the feminine in the connection, your role is to provide the feminine energy. And what is the feminine energy about? It's the energy of contention. It's the energy of manifestation. That masculine side downloads some information from higher planes, and he gives them to you physically, energetically, verbally, through physical connection, and you have the power of rooting, grounding that information and manifest it in a reality in the world. But what usually women do? Accuse men of being dreamers and accuse the masculine side of being of living a fantasy. But that happens when men, masculine energy, are precipitating information. That precipitation can come very raw. And it might lack discernment, that the feminine energy can, when it crosses the third eye, and the uterus, the feminine energy, because the uterus and the third eye are connected, second and sixth chakra, and both are feminine chakras. When it crosses these two areas, we can do the clear differentiation between what is fantasy and what is realistic. But what we do is we operate from the mind, which is a masculine action to do. And from the mind, we move from the fear of losing stability, and we start judging the whole thing that the man is giving us, the information that he is giving us. We start judging it as useless, and we start accusing them of immature, or we start accusing them of crazy dreamers. But it's our role as feminine energy to take the information and process it with our inner centers of discernment, which are not the mind, but are the third eye and the uterus, clarify it, and basically goes from here, you ground it through your uterus, where you manifest it in a reality. You manifest it by doing something about it, by interfering, by telling him what he should do, by guiding him, by calling a colleague. No, none of the above. No, not by competing with him. You manifest it with your intention and with your process of transmuting and doing alchemy. That's why we're called witches, because we do alchemy of the ideas. We do alchemy of the energy that we receive from the exterior. That information is contaminated. The channeling is raw. It's like taking a rock of gold and then having to cleanse it from metals that aren't gold through high degrees of heat. So stop competing and stop feeling smarter, and start understanding that you have the alchemy to manifest with your partner the messages that he precipitates from the heavens. Because the seventh chakra, which is through which he receives, is neutral but mainly masculine. The last 2 points is the achievement of this energy of success in a connection goes through the activation of your third eye. Your third eye needs to be more awakened than any other center. All your centers should be awakened, but we should operate from our third eye, our heart, and our second chakra, second, 2, 4, and 6. In our third eye, we have the initial discernment. In our heart, we place the intention. And in our second chakra, we do the gestation of the idea and then ground it in the reality. It's the process of feminine alchemy. Masculine alchemy is receiving the information, then giving it to the feminine part, then speaking it. Then the third chakra, which is action, and then the last chakra, which is rooting it, working, building it in the reality. So we complement one another in the process of creation of the world. We have a part and they have a part. And the reason why we have difficulties creating together is because when we join them, we want to create, we are disconnected from the feminine process and we are competing in the masculine process. And last but not least, it's very important to connect to your two sides, your masculine and your feminine, but as well with your shadow and your darkness. This darkness comes from the pain and anger of all the ancestral line of feminine energy that were rejected, that were mistreated, that were abused. We are carrying in ourselves the pain of our ancestors, male and female. But we women are charging a high bill to the men for what our women went through. And it's time to embrace ourselves in that energy. And understanding that it was unfortunately an unbalance that was required in order to rebalance the planet of the times that there was matriarchal societies that also abused the other side previous to the patriarchal times. That is from the logical perspective, but also the point that the best redemption we can do for our women is not revenging from the masculine energy and continuing in a gender battle, but to integrate that pain as lessons that takes us to empowerment. Because when we are conscious that what they went through can serve as a tool for me to empower myself, but not empower myself from the revenge. On the contrary, empower myself in all my abilities, in all the gifts, in turning on all my buttons. As a woman, I will be able to give myself into a commitment operating from my place, from my role, from my discernment, from my desire, and not from an unconscious desire of revenge of my ancestors. If I integrate all the parts of me that I'm unconscious about, I can come to the front to another person, to a companion, as a complete human that can give herself completely to the connection without losing herself. Because if we lose ourselves, that means we were never complete to start with. Our problem is that we want other person to complete us because we feel incomplete, and then we complain when it goes wrong and we feel the abuse. That was the same mistake that our ancestors did in different times with different dynamics. Our true value, our true power is in entering super complete. And a woman that is complete never feel that somebody outside it's needed in order to feel someone. You need to know that you are someone and that you are complete before you enter in a connection with another one. Otherwise, we will create unhealthy codependencies that don't end up very well. And also that stops you from activating your feminine power, which is what you come to offer in the connection. And last but not least, and I channeled this information some time ago, it was shown to me, is never get into a connection with someone who does not feel devotion for your feminine side. Devotion is not worshiping, and devotion is not lack of self-esteem. And devotion does not mean that you abuse that person. Devotion is recognition of your divine side, of your power of manifesting. Because when you allow a person that abuse you to be in your energetic field and in your physical body, you will, as a woman, replicate abuse in the world. You will give birth metaphysically to situations of abuse repeated in the world. So the way to change and contribute to a healthy world where male and female are aligned and in harmony is by not allowing energy of abuse to be in your energetic field. Physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, energetic abuse, any sort of abuse, subtle or direct. Because when you're with somebody who feels things due to his education that you aren't good enough, you are repeating that experience, replicating it in the world, creating more abuse. Not even to mention that if you have kids under those circumstances, your kids are gonna think the same, that you're not good enough, or that they, if they're female, aren't good enough, and that other women aren't good enough. So that is the first step to understand the importance of devotion. Devotion to the feminine, respect to the feminine, to the maximum. And if that's not there, you should not be there. Having said that, I think that's all I have for you today. It was a big, long message. And well, I see you in the next video.